All right, everybody. Good morning. Rick Berube here on this lovely February 6th. What's that extra R there for? Anybody really know? Anyway, so February 6th, we are here. We are very fortunate today, from the lovely state of Arizona, but before from California, the Bay Area, one of the founders of Intero Real Estate, and now, the general manager of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services of Arizona, California, and Nevada, Mr. John Thompson, also known as JT. JT, please unmute yourself so we can hear you. Star 6, by the way.
All right. Did that work? Can you hear me?
There he is.
Hey, good morning, Rick. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. Fabulous. I get a chance to talk to you, and that always that makes anybody feel good, right?
Oh, well, thanks, my man. Same here. It's a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for taking the last moment and saying you would do this. So tell me, just so I know we did the Facebook Live, but this is like a different crew. It's weird. People, either the people that listen to the podcast or the people that watch the Facebook. That's why I always have everybody do both. So I appreciate you agreeing to it. So tell them a little about yourself. Give them a little history of Intero, with Gino, the whole thing too. I think they'd love to hear that.
Sure. I'll make that short.
Okay.
I got into the business in 1987 and was Gino's first assistant. I've had the good fortune of knowing him since I was 13. It's always one of those interesting things to think about, that where you end up in life, right? If my dad, I always think about this, if my dad played tennis versus playing golf, I would not be talking to you right now, right? One of those subtle things in life, right? That, we all have influence over our lives, but, we don't have 100% control. And because my dad was a golfer, he would take me to this golf course when I was a little kid. That's ultimately how I met Gino, and ultimately we became friends, and he became a big brother, and, he got into real estate and then got me into real estate. But if I never would have been a golfer at a very young age, I would have been on some completely different path, and so it's always interesting to think about, I call them your destiny dots. Wherever destiny has landed you, that's your current dot. You make the best of it, because sometimes you think you're landing on something that is a misfortune, and it could be a, incredibly good fortune. So make the best of it, because you never know where that dot's going to take you next. So that dot of my dad being a golfer landed me in real estate in 1987. And I, as I said, I became his first assistant, worked and sold real estate up until 2002. When, myself and Gino and 5 others decided it was time to start our own company. And that's when we started Intero in 2002. Was fortunate enough in 2014 that Berkshire Hathaway acquired us. And Gino went on to, be president of the brand. And I stayed on at Intero until the opportunity to come here and create another destiny dot here in this company for the second half of my life. So I'm real excited to be here and learn, share, grow together with this team. It's an amazing company filled with some amazing leadership, and really looking forward to everything we're going to do together.
Awesome. I love it. And I love the analogy of halftime, because it's like a football game, right? It's like if you watch football games and teams go into the locker room, make adjustments, and then it's almost like they switch uniforms. One team takes over, and that's kind of how I feel too about the real estate career is, you've learned a lot, and I'm sure you have too. You've learned a lot. You've been around great. It's really interesting because I met Gino in 1990, and I also met Alan Dalton, who's now been with the company for a little while too, and Mike introduced them both to me. Alan Dalton actually, and Gino went up and spoke too, but Alan Dalton was the featured speaker other than Mike. Mike always had a featured speaker, and back in 1990, it was Alan Dalton. So it was very interesting that I met them that long ago. And
Tino's
a great guy. You have a great mentor there. And
sorry
about your 49ers.
I'm certainly there were times back in those early days at the Marriott Desert Springs where I've actually had met and talked to you.
Yes.
I know it, Rick, right?
Yes.
And interesting what a small world this business
I met you
can sometimes be. Yeah.
Right, crazy, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, goes back to your dot theory, right? The dots, you never know when you meet somebody if you're going to, like I met Mark Stark in I think 2012, and you know what? I didn't think he'd extend me an offer, and next thing you know, I've been here since about the same time. When Coldwell Banker, so honestly, JT, when Coldwell Banker, when Uncle Warren, that's what I call Warren Buffett, when Warren Buffett bought, I call him Uncle Warren. I've never met him, but I feel like I've known him that long, right? So, and he looks like my Uncle Bill, which is kind of interesting.
Yes, exactly.
So when Uncle Warren bought, and turned it into, Coldwell Banker, not Coldwell Banker, but Prudential, and turned it into Berkshire Hathaway. It's right about the time I met Mark. And then when I was like, what a great thing to be part of, right? Warren buying it, Mark Stark with his company, and the company's grown twice as, I'm not taking all the credit, but we've grown twice the size since I've been here as far as Arizona and into California. So it's a great group of guys to be involved with, and I'm really glad you and Troy are here now too, man. So great stuff.
I'm excited. Yeah, Troy was one of the reasons why I was excited to come and be here. I'm just, so impressed with him and his leadership style and how he thinks, and the strategy and the direction he wants to continue this company with, where Mark had brought it is right up my alley, and we speak the same language, we think the same,
right,
on so many different things that we are addressing and building the company into this next stage. So it's going to be exciting times.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's great. It's already, look, we just had a great month last month with recruiting. I think we've, this new market, which is more like a normal market, because, you and I have been doing this about the same amount of time. I got my license in 1985. You started in 1987. So you've been doing it 37. Yeah. I've been doing it. It's my 39th year. And, this is, historically, this year is going to be a great real estate market. The one drawback is we're coming off the two best years basically in the history of real estate, but this is going to be a solid, good year. You can just see it in the numbers and feel it in what's already happening this year.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And for agents that work for our company, they're going to find it a lot easier to handle. Mm-hmm. I truly believe than when you're not here, because we'll have them, up to speed on the mindset and the skills and the data and everything necessary mm-hmm. in order to succeed. So we're going to, we'll be fine. And a lot of the people that maybe, that aren't in part of organizations like ours that will drop out of the business when it gets a little challenging, because they don't have the support and the information and the ability to handle it. So everybody here is going to be fine. Yes, everybody's going to have to work a little bit harder to get the what we accomplished in the previous years, but or maybe work a little bit smarter and more efficiently. So we do that, and everybody's going to have an amazing 2023.
Yeah, with a solid name. I know a lot of those companies are having a hard time because they built their model on transactions of 2020 and 2021, which isn't relevant. Berkshire Hathaway is a solid company, so you'll see some moving around, some acquiring, maybe even Berkshire Hathaway buying a few more, which would be great. But ultimately, with this brand, we're solid. Things are great, and it's feeling really good. Now, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Moving from the Bay Area, because California is one, type of market. Moving into Arizona, how has that transition been for you?
Well, I'm still adjusting, right?
Of course.
I'll admit. Hey, I'm now the first person that can say I understand change, right?
Right.
I spent 58 years literally in one location, living, 5 miles from the hospital that I was actually born in. Aside from going away to school, I was in the same hometown, the same neighborhood, same environment, for 58 years. So, but I'm loving it. It's exciting. Good. Yes, are things different a little bit, right? Real estate isn't dramatically different from one spot to the other. There's subtle differences. You learn them, you move on. I've been saying the book cover is a little bit different, but the story inside the novel here is pretty, not dramatically different from where I came from.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
I love it. I call Scottsdale and that whole North Scottsdale, Troon, I call that whole area like the new Orange County, because it's growing. It looks good. You see Lamborghinis. You see all those types of cars. It's a great area. And it's new. It's brand new. The thing that takes a while for me to learn and understand that I took a lot of pride in back in the Bay Area was really knowing and understanding the market and the inventory and the trends and the different locations and so I'm still learning that. I'm just asking questions every day, talking to agents. Really trying to understand all the nuances in every market, because that's one of the values you bring to the customer. Really knowing and understanding, inventory trends are on the rise, are they on the fall, and absorption rates, and what's normal. You see, I'm not used to that. I'm like, well, what's a normal January look like, right? For all the different markets we look. I know what this one did, but what does it normally do? I could spout that off in the Bay Area, with the snap of a finger. So I'm still learning the trends and the nuances of each location and marketplace and the inventory. And that's taking time, but I'm a fast learner on that, because I'm a firm believer it's important to what we do. Yeah, and you're a people person, and they're already talking to you about down there. All good, so that's great. And I'm going to tell you, that's a great group down there, as you're finding out too, with all the offices we have down there. There's some really great agents. It's like a big family community there too.
Arizona, the California offices, the Nevada offices.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm finding just amazing people in all our locations and markets, and I'm really just excited to continue to get to know everybody better and better the longer I'm here.
Yeah, and we might as well put the plug in, right? Because what's coming up in March is the National Convention in Vegas. Every one of you either live here, or if you don't want to fly, you can drive. It's that close. Everybody should really consider coming to it. And then if you are coming, we have a little golf. JT's playing too, March 25th for all 4 markets. And it's on so just email my assistant, Lisa, and you can get involved, and we can have some fun playing a little best ball scramble before the convention. Have some fun. It's funny because Intero wasn't a part of this convention, right? Because we weren't the Berkshire. Right. We were owned by Berkshire Hathaway, but we still carried the Intero brand. We weren't part of the Berkshire Hathaway brand. But knowing and being connected to Gino, I always wanted, especially on there, I think I've only missed maybe only one. I didn't go to Kentucky of the last 5 or 6 years, even though I wasn't, my prior company wasn't part of it. I got to go and to experience it. And if you have not been or not planning on going, you need to be there. Yeah. Both because it's just a lot of, it combines 2 great things, 3 great things, right? You get to network, you get, pumped up and excited, and you get to have a lot of fun and learn at the same time. I mean, it's an amazing few days. Right.
You get everything.
I don't know. I just thought of something when you said that. I don't know if you know this, but I was invited, because I was invited with a friend of Gino's I think it was the last awards thing you guys had before you guys sold to Berkshire Hathaway. I was actually there.
You were? Okay.
Yeah. It was very interesting. It was very motivational too. It was great to see.
Yeah. Well, we got that all coming up for our company here too, and all the different locations.
Yes.
So that March is
everybody should go to that too.
It is.
It's a very busy month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It goes from Christmas parties in November and December to to awards through the first quarter and conventions. So it's always moving.
We actually do work, right? We don't just plan parties and go to them.
Right.
Everybody, there is still a lot of work going on.
There's a lot of work going on. Well, speaking of that, okay, so someone with your experience being around top producers, being a top producer yourself actually before you got into it, give us some, so there's a lot of, most of the people on here are agents today. To be successful in this type of market, which like you said, cover might be different, but the pages in between are pretty similar. Give them a couple, maybe your top 3 ideas of what you think, what's important today to be a top producer in this market.
Well, one thing that I've always prided myself on and that I've seen all top producers do is they're always upgrading, right? They're always looking at how do I upgrade what I'm doing? And, how do I improve the product, right? If you think about it, like if you still had an Apple iPhone 2, would it be very effective today, right? I don't even know what version are they on, 14, right, or whatever it is now, right? How many versions
it's 14,
they've gone through, and and understanding and realizing that you as the agent, you are the product, and if you're not always looking to upgrade the product, you're what a lot of people get the misconception that the house is the vehicle we use, but the real product that the customer is, agreeing to hire for their expertise, for their knowledge, for their, experience, their wisdom, their negotiations, et cetera, is you. And if you're still on iPhone 2, we need to, stop and make sure we're getting up to speed on everything. So every year, it's so critical for us to sit down and go, all right, how do I upgrade my product, me? And maybe it's technology, maybe it's mindset, maybe it's skills, maybe it's your presentation, maybe it's some of your marketing, whatever it is that you're doing, all of the things that make somebody successful, right? Maybe it's just a tiny little bit, 5% in all of those different areas, right? So they're always looking to say, all right, what I did last year, was fine. Now I've got to be a little bit better this year. And what am I going to take on? What am I going to improve? So they're always looking to do that. Number 2, they're always looking at modeling other successful people, right? You're not having to reinvent the wheel on this thing. So, we talk about Mike Ferry, right? I got so many Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Brian Buffini, Lorna Hines, Craig Proctor, just like you, Rick. I've seen and been to them all. They all provide value, right? There's the model for a lot of what we need to do to be successful is already there. We just need to figure out what pieces, I've got to put in place to make my business better. So, be talking to, if you're doing 20 deals a year and somebody that's doing 30, take them to lunch, talk to them, ask them, how are you doing that? What hurdles are you overcoming? How do you do this? I'm struggling here. And then if you're doing 20 and somebody else is doing 10, make sure you pay it forward and share, for those, that are doing less than you, hey, reach down and help them. And if we all do that, it's amazing the effect that it will have on the company. So, those are always things that I like to talk about with agents. And of course, 2 of the more important things I think an agent has got to have dialed in that are critical for their business is, they're, you can call it client base, database, center of influence, whatever, however, I know Alan likes to call it client base. So make sure your client base is up to date and dialed in, and then make sure your buyer presentations and listing presentations, because that to me is where the rubber hits the road, right? Meets the road. That's where the buyer or the seller says, you're the right person. I'm going to meet, I want you to help me. So does your buyer presentation, does your listing presentation provide value? Does it solve the problems that the customer has? Does it differentiate yourself from everybody else? And if not, dig in and spend some time, trying to make that a little bit better, because that's generally the decision-making time for the customer on who's going to help them. So those, their database and their presentations are two things that I'm always telling people that they're never perfect. They always need to be worked on. And whatever it was last year.
And added to. And
yes. Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. So those are some things. Here's something interesting. I was talking to one of my friends, going back to the database, right? Mm-hmm. He defines his database as everybody that's in his phone, right? And he goes, JT, you know how many people are in my phone? I go, I don't know, 1,000. He goes, like 2,400 people. It's like,
wow.
That's overwhelming, right? He goes, but really who's my center of influence? I go, okay, so you define that differently than your database. He goes, absolutely. This is the first time. Maybe I've heard this in a seminar, but this is the first time I've heard it, right, from us. I'm like, no. The database is just everybody in your phone, right? My center of influence are the people that are my biggest cheerleaders, the ones that, really support me, and I can communicate with them every week if I want to, right? And I go, well, how many people is that? He goes, 68.
Yeah.
I go, 68? And he goes, yeah. And I normally get 15 to 20 transactions a year out of those 68 people.
That's great.
So that, forget, you get it from open houses, you get it from farming, you get it from expireds and for sale by owners and, social media, whatever, right? But he goes, these 68 people are pretty consistently, my goal is that every one of them is going to help me find one customer. So he goes, I'm still falling short, because that would be, I'd be getting over 60 deals a year from that small group. But consistently every year, those 68 people bring me close to 20 transactions a year. And
that's great.
Wow. So don't just another way to look at your center of influence. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Right. Whittle it down to the top 68 people that are your closest to you. And man, he just over communicates and serves that group of people.
It's funny. That's really good. And that's kind of what I talked to about it in Success Series is, with our Virtual Agent Center 2.0, like for instance, every email address that you ever have gotten, send them a newsletter, maybe even consider putting them on a neighborhood report, right? So I always did it like that. I had my database, which was really just the emails and the, that type of communication, or even mailing if some people do that. And then you had your people that graduated to your center of influence. So that's a great way to look at it. Right. And we have the best tools to do that for too.
Yeah. No, he still sends the emails and the postcards and everything to the large group, right? But the handwritten notes, the text, the lunch meeting,
the phone calls,
hey, I'm gonna, I know you like, hockey, and I'm so thankful for your support of my business. I got 2 hockey tickets for you. And, that is only a very small group that he just over services, over communicates, over connects to. And he says, look, it makes it real easy. Every year I start my business with already knowing this group's going to give me about 20 transactions.
Yep. That's great. Yeah. It's comforting to know that too. And, some of those people become your best friends, and, you invite them everywhere, and, you also call them on their birthdays and their wedding anniversaries, and make sure you find something on social media. to like and comment on, especially if it's about their kids or some people, their dogs. Like I know Amanda's on here. If you comment on her dog, she loves you. And
right,
so whatever.
right.
Yeah. You know, and it's just the right thing to do. It makes you feel good, and you do business forever. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
You know, so that's, going back to your original question, you know, the other thing I'll always talk about, something I'm always working on and improving the product, is my own, you know, mind and body, right? Again, you know, your energy comes from how you feel, you know, and what you think about and your beliefs a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're feeling good and you've got exciting things that you want to get accomplished in 2023, people around you can feel it. And so, you know, that's something that, you know, it's funny, right? You got to work at that. You got to work at that passion and happiness and enthusiasm. You think some very few people, it's just natural in them. But for a lot of us, you know, we need to, you know, push the input in, right, to make sure that, you know, that is overcoming all the other bad information that is hitting us, you know, every day, so we can overcome it. All the spy balloon informations and this, right? And like, okay, we got to get past that, and you know, that's just distraction and a noise compared to what I'm excited about and where I'm going and doing. So, you know, really, I've noticed whenever I've been in a lull, right? We all do it. I'm human too. It happens to me, and I go, you know what? I know how to get out of this, and I know I've been slacking on my reading, you know, and my positive podcasts like this, and my, you know, health and energy, right? My diet and my exercise I haven't been as committed. So the second I recommit to those things, right, my mental input, and then my diet and exercise and sleep, it's amazing how things end up turning around for, you know, right? Not even doing anything else business-wise, just taking those actions for me personally, because, again, we're the product. And the better we make the product, the better service, the more productive, the more successful, you know, we become. So, you know, those are something that are always, you know, a checklist item for me. I have to, like, how am I doing there? Have I been slacking, right? Have I been staying committed? Because when I get committed there, it's funny how the business follows, you know, in a more positive manner.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's so important that you know, because you can't, well, you know, the old saying, you treat people like you treat yourself. You have to be good to yourself. You physically, mentally. People ask me why I work out every day. I go, because I'm addicted to the way I feel after. Why would I not do that on it? Right? You just feel great. And eating right, the same thing. And even though you got to cheat every now and then, good little chocolate's good for you once in a while.
We're human. You don't think I can, like, you know, mowing through a large pizza by myself, you know, you know, and down by a pitcher of beer. I can do that easily, right? So, yeah, I mean, you know, those will always happen, but, you know, it can't be, that's the pattern, right? Then I fall into, how come my energy isn't the same? How come I'm not as excited about my goals? How come, you know, there's clues as to why that's the case.
Yes. You know, it's funny. I thought I cheated a little too much until I saw, you know, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson's. I saw his cheat day meal. I was like, whoa, I'm doing okay. All right, my
you're
man.
also probably not doing 3 hours in the gym every day like him, or maybe you are. Who knows?
No, I do about an hour and a half actually. Yeah, I love it. It's my hour and a half therapy. But all right, well, we're up on time here, JT. I just want to say thank you very much for taking your time out today, my man. Really appreciate it. I'm sure people got something out of it. Everybody else will do this again in a week. Let's keep rocking. Thanks, JT. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Rick. Thanks, buddy.
Same here, my man. Appreciate it. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you. Okay, bye.